Hey, welcome to episode 136 of Credit 101. In this episode, we're going to talk about another thing that debt collectors cannot do. If they do it, it's a violation of your FDCPA rights. Now, one of those things is they cannot contact third party companies. And when I say third party companies, I just don't want to say third party companies. I'm just saying third parties in general. So they cannot contact, maybe your mom talking about your dad. They can your boyfriend, girlfriend, anybody talking about your dad. Now they can contact them to locate you. Hey, do you know where Rickita is? They can contact them for that, but they cannot tell them like exactly why they're contacting. They're trying to get in contact with you. They can't say, "Hey, I'm trying to get in contact with her. Tell her to call me. It's $1,000 debt here, and I need her to pay it." They can't do things like that, but they can contact them and say, "Hey, do you know where Rickita is? Do you have any contact information for her?" And they cannot also leave certain voicemails. They can. Now we have the new laws, and I want you guys to look into these new laws that we have because it gives them more rights in terms of text messaging, emailing, voicemails, and stuff like that. They can contact you in these different forms, but they can't put too much information on there because they don't know exactly who is going to read these emails, text messages, and voicemails, but they still can contact you in that manner. And you got to think about it. Only thing I think about when I think about them having these third party contact, I want to think about is, do anybody know that you're a debt collector and you trying to get me to pay a debt that I actually owe you, and do they know the details of that? Because it's damaging, especially if they don't forget some of these debt collectors, they call about debts that's probably not even yours, So just imagine if everybody getting all these calls about debts, or if you getting calls about a certain debt and you just find out that the debt is not yours, but they can call 5 of your family members talking about it, not a whole family talking about how you owe $5,000, and you like, that's not mine, and they like, the debt collector called me, it's definitely yours. It's just, it don't look good, so that's why they are not supposed to call third parties talking about your debt, only to locate you. So if you find out you have debt collectors out there sharing additional information, that's why they usually try to verify you on the phone. But if you find that they're trying to share additional information about you, like, just make sure you write down what they share, who they shared it with, especially if it's very damaging, and just see if you can find an FCRA attorney, a consumer law attorney that can help you with this. Now, it's going to be hard to find these attorneys, I'm not going to lie, but don't forget, send out that debt validation letter to them, especially if they're calling you, texting you, to ask them to validate that debt. And I have a free copy of that on my website, Rickita.com. So please go ahead and check it out. But I'll go ahead and see you guys in the next episode. We got 137 coming up. If you all have any questions, please call me 833-Rickita, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Hi, welcome to episode 137 of Credit 101. In this episode, we're going to talk about more things that these debt collectors cannot do. And this is something that some people have experienced in the past. I know I experienced it. You guys may have experienced it also, and that's harassment and abuse by these debt collectors. They cannot do this, you guys, and you guys may not think of it as a problem, but it's certain laws that prohibit this, which is in the FDCPA. They cannot harass and abuse us, and harassment can be, they call you all day, they call you multiple times throughout the day. It's just annoying. Anything that could be annoying you too, where they're leaving multiple voicemails, and one day they're calling you a lot within the day, or they may be threatening you. They use some very harsh language. That's another thing. They can't sit there and curse you out. And you got to think about it. Some of these debt collectors, when they call you, they are getting paid based off of them actually getting people to pay. So they could be angry at the time. They could say the worst things. Sometimes I have heard people say it. They say, "Oh, if you don't pay this, we're going to take you to jail." Crazy stuff like that. They cannot do that. That's harassment, and that's actually abuse. So if you guys are experiencing this, please write this stuff down, write the company name down, and don't forget, if you guys haven't already, send them a debt validation notice, because we already talked about them trying to get money for debt that they're not supposed to get money for. We just right now talked about them harassing you, and then we talked about them talking to third party people or companies about you that they're not supposed to talk to, they're not supposed to talk to these people. So if you guys are having these problems, send them a debt validation notice. I have a copy of it right on my website, Rickita.com. Please check it out. It's free. Send them that and tell them to stop contacting you, period. After, don't deal with the nonsense, because I dealt with it before and I didn't know any better. I'm just going back and forth with them about it. Don't go back and forth with this company. If you can, try to record the call. But talk to your attorney because certain laws for recording. But definitely, I would say send a debt validation notice and tell them not to contact you. It's all in a notice, basically. Don't contact me anymore. So that's what I would suggest. Let's go over to episode 138. If you guys have any questions, call or text me 833-Rickita. And again, go to my website and get that free debt validation notice if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in 138. Hey, welcome to episode 139 of Credit 101. In this episode, I want to talk about a few extra things that we kind of didn't talk about before, some more unfair practices that they actually do. And I actually wrote these down because I want to make sure I don't forget any of them. So the first one is, I want to make sure you guys know they cannot add any extra interest or fees. Sometimes you may see that they'll report a certain balance to the credit bureaus. Maybe they say you owe $326, but you will see like the next month they'll say it's $1 more or $1 less. They can't do that, and that's something that's wrong with their credit reporting. But also, you may see companies, they add more where the amount that you owe is more technically than you see like the highest balance on your account. Sometimes you see the balance is higher than the highest balance, and that's because they're adding extra interest and fees. They cannot do this, you guys, unless it's already in your original contract. And a lot of times they've already added the fees that they need to add before they even got to the original contract. Or also, if based off of state law, maybe state law allows them to add additional interest and fees, to this collection, but they're not allowed to do that. Also, they cannot deposit or threaten to deposit a post-dated check. So sometimes you may make an agreement. Today, technically, while I'm recording this is the 26th. You may make an agreement saying, hey, I'm going to send you a check for the 15th of May. I'll go ahead and please cash it there. You had a date on there. They can't threaten to actually deposit that sooner. They have to deposit it on the 15th or after that, because sometimes these companies will threaten to actually deposit it before then, and they cannot do that. Also, they cannot conceal their true purposes of calling. They cannot, how you get a spill, hey, this is the debt collector. We're calling about a debt, anything, like kind of like your Miranda rights, basically. They have to make sure that they say that, you guys. They cannot just call you about the debt and haven't told you that they're a debt collector, who the debt collector is. They cannot do that, okay? So make sure that they saying who they are, okay? And they cannot accept a check that's post-dated more than 5 days unless the agent notifies you between 3 to 10 days in advance of when it will be deposited. So they should, if you send one for the 15th, say it's the 26th right now, they have to contact you and say, hey, this check was ahead of time. We have the check. They have to make sure within 3 to 10 days of it being deposited, they have to contact you just basically as like a reminder. So that's one of the things. And again, they cannot threaten you with criminal prosecution. I cannot talk. Prostitution. They cannot threaten you guys, basically. And we talked about that in the last episode, like, oh, we're going to take you to jail, all this crazy stuff. They cannot do that. So those are a few more things that they cannot do. The next episodes, now we talk about some stuff they can't do. It's more, look into the FDCPA. There's more things. I really want to get into some tips of actually negotiating with these companies, because I have to negotiate with these companies. I talk to a lot of these companies all the time. I tell you guys certain things you guys can do to negotiate. So let's actually get into these videos on negotiation. I'll see you guys in episode 140.